Hey everyone, welcome to Behind the Bar. I'm your host, Danny Johnson, where we interview your favorite dry bar comedians. Today is an old friend, Steve Mingolla, the nice guy of comedy. His special, appropriately called Nice Guy, is on Dry Bar and other places. But welcome, Steve.
Wow, thanks, Dan. Good to see you, man.
I can't
How
believe
many
it.
years has it been?
Well, I texted you that picture of us in Vegas like last
Yeah,
year, right? I was going through old
right.
pictures, right? And so I was so excited to have you on the podcast and because I have so many fond memories of Comedy Zone Jacksonville where I started and you used
Right.
to be one of the regular headliners there, so I got to MC and then eventually feature and then we worked together a few times where I middled for you. And then when I started headlining it was kind of like, you get to that point where you don't really see anybody anymore because you're headlining the same stuff, right?
Right.
And then I
Right.
remember I connected you with my neighborhood. You did that neighborhood gig for us in Nocatee. That was a couple years ago. Um, but
Yeah.
the Vegas trip was so. I hope I don't know. You're not going to remember this. I always remember when I make the headliner laugh, like off stage. When you kind of hanging out with whoever it is, celebrity, non-celebrity, but we were on, let me see if you recall this, and I may be recalling it incorrectly. We're on this trolley or something in Vegas just tooting around town, and there's a guy, looks homeless, in his 30s, skinny, wearing weird clothes, boots, shorts, tank top, a pink hat, wristbands, and he's on a phone, like an old cell phone back then, and he's just talking about Einstein and theory of relativity and the universe really loudly on this bus or trolley or whatever. And it was just awkward for everyone because he was obviously just a deranged person just talking about weird stuff really loud into a phone. And we get off and I go to you, I go, how much you want to bet no one was on the other line? You know what I mean? It just made you laugh. And I was
Yeah.
like, I always remember little things like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was the plaza. Do you,
Wow.
do you remember doing the plaza?
Vaguely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember I wore a suit. Well, you saw in that picture, I was wearing a suit like I was because I'm a big Rat Pack fan. My first time in Vegas, I figured I'd suit up. And
Who
then
is that for?
that was the
Was
zone.
that
The zone, yeah, the zone used to
Zone?
book
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And it was like, the plaza in Old Vegas, 30 people a
Right.
show, maybe. And
Right.
it was just
Yeah.
people like that didn't they lost all their money. So that was the only thing they had left to do. I got free tickets to the show. Or my room had like cigarette burns in the rug.
Yeah.
Everything was yellow.
The whole, yeah, Fremont, man. That's the first Vegas.
Yeah, but those were the days, man. Those were.
Yeah.
That's how you get your. And I just thought, the pay was terrible for me. It was terrible as a middle to because I fly myself out there.
Yeah.
Hotel's free. I'm living in the bar. At the end of the week, at the risk of talking my entire podcast myself, at at the end of the week, there was this diner or food place in the Plaza Hotel, and it advertised the whole week like steak and lobster 9.99, and I was like, ugh. At the end of the week, I'm like, you know what? I gotta try this before I leave Vegas. I just want to see. So I sit at the bar. It's like a diner, an old 50 style diner where you have those little seats that are circular. You sit at the bar. I order it. It comes, and directly in front of me is the kitchen, and about a gap of 5 or 6 inches from the floor, you could see, and I see a rat poke its head out. This rat that looks like a small cat, and looks looks at me. And I immediately and then goes scurries off, and I immediately put my steak down. I hadn't even taken a bite, and I go, "I'm not paying for this." And he goes, "I will call the police." And I'm like, "I could yell rat right now. I just saw it." He's like, "Have a nice day, sir."
Yeah, yeah, right.
So, dude, when you talk to us about your dry bar experience, because this I saw the special yesterday. I loved it. I've seen the clips, but I watched the full one yesterday. How was your experience with it?
Well, to be honest with you, I've only seen clips. I haven't watched the whole thing yet,
Okay.
but that was the last time I've been on stage. That was two
Wow.
years ago.
Wow.
2 years ago, October, so 2.5. Shit.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
so the whole experience with Dry Bar, I mean, was a you it was a for me it was first class. You know, they fly staff was
Oh,
great, the
yeah.
audiences.
Yeah. Yeah. No, they're the number one comedy format in the world.
Yeah,
It's
it
not
really
just
is.
US. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if you've
But
taken the time on social media to look at like when they post a clip, it gets hundreds and hundreds of comments and likes and stuff, and it's interesting.
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I see that all the time pops up.
Yeah.
But
What how did you pick you have hours of material. Did you know it was going to be your last time on stage?
yeah,
Okay. Wow, interesting.
it just happened to work out that way. I had literally my show's the third week of October. I'm up there, and the first week of October, my wife and I moved. We were still in the process of moving. I was staying at my parents. We moved from Georgia to Texas,
Right, Lubbock.
where I'm. Yeah, it's weird. I don't really miss comedy that much.
Wow.
Uh, we can get into that, but I don't. It was something I did that I don't do anymore, kind of a thing, you know.
Yeah.
Um, so when I moved here, I was still staying at my parents, and I said I gotta fly to Utah to do
Right.
this show, and that was yeah, it was very surreal, kind of weird. But
It's a
I'm
great
thinking to
way to end.
myself,
It's a great way to cap it all, a great career off.
yeah, I said if something comes out of this, great. If not, fine, you know. Of course, nothing came out of it. I don't know. It took almost 2 years for them to air it. It's only
Right.
been up 6 months, I think, if
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, but you made a mark on a lot of comedians' lives, mine included. You know, you had a heavy influence on a lot of people.
Dude, 32 years, I think I did it.
Yeah. You started in the
Yeah.
comedy store, but in
Comedy
Hawaii. This is
store.
what I learned about you in Hawaii.
Yeah, Hawaii. My dad was military, so we moved around a lot. I was in college at the time, didn't know what I wanted to do with my life at Texas Tech here in Lubbock.
Yeah.
And my dad gets stationed in Hawaii, Hickam Air Force Base, and because I'm a student in the military, if you're still a student, they'll ship if you can go with the family.
Right.
You can change colleges; they'll pay. Military pays for it. So I said, "Oh, I'm going to Hawaii."
Of course.
Uh, yeah, I think I was majoring in accounting because I was always good at math, and I minored in acting
Okay.
just for the fun of it, just something to do.
Yeah.
And this was an art college, Kapi'olani Community College, because
Right.
my grades they wouldn't allow me into University of Hawaii, so they sent me to the junior college, which is an art college,
Right.
and it shared property with Magnum PI Studios,
Oh,
so we got to watch episodes being filmed and stuff like that. But I loved acting; it was so much fun.
yeah.
And the University of Hawaii had a comedy competition or a talent show
Right.
competition. Uh, and my acting teacher, I have no idea what's going on. She says, "Hey, you ought to enter that contest." And I'm like, "And doing what?" And she says, "Being a comedian because you're always making everybody laugh."
Right.
So, and I never thought, I'm like, what? I'm a comedian, and never thought of that
Right.
as a career choice. But comedy at that time was exploding. It was the mid 80s. It was
Yeah.
everywhere. I'm a waiter at a restaurant that's on Waikiki Beach, okay? And it's called the Shorebird, and it's in the back of the hotel overlooking the beach, kind of, and you serve the food raw.
Okay.
And the people get up from their table and they go in the back, and there's all these grills, and you cook your own meal.
Right.
All right. That's this place. And it's a resort. It's a resort hotel on Waikiki Beach. I'm walking out one day after work, and I'm walking down the corridor there, and it says coming soon, Comedy Zone. And I was like, oh my God. I took a right right in there. And I go, are you guys hiring? And they're like, yeah. And oh, can I, and what do you do? And I go, I don't know, or you want to be a doorman or whatever. So yeah.
Right.
So I got hired to work at the Comedy Zone. because I was so excited about comedy. I was one of those
It's
people. I had the
Comedy Zone or
album
Comedy Store?
comedy. I'm sorry, Comedy Store.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Zone was in my head. Sorry.
Right.
Comedy Store, the famous, world famous,
Yeah. I had
Hollywood,
no idea.
California,
This is
Mitzi Shore.
fascinating.
Yeah. So that's, anyways, basically that's how I got started.
Yeah.
Um, because when I did the comedy show for the contest, I got second place. This was an eye-opening experience.
Right.
My parents came to my first show on stage I ever performed. And it was the competition, you know. And I got second place and was blown away that I did that good.
Yeah, you get that
Uh,
taste of that rush of laughter and how it makes you feel.
yeah. And I went up to my dad. I said, Dad, I'm not going to graduate. I want to be a comedian.
Right.
And my dad said, that's the funniest thing I've heard my whole life, you know. Oh, by the way, man, let me get this out of the way because it's
Yeah.
bugging me. I'm seeing it on the
What?
screen. When I was in high school, I had a head-on car collision,
Okay.
did massive damage to my upper jaw. I lost bone and stuff like that. Over the years, it's eventually, kind of decaying, I guess, I don't know, periodontal
Right.
disease. So I had to get, and I had my teeth had hairline cracks in it from 40 years ago when I had that head-on collision.
Right.
And so eventually, as time went by, my teeth were just falling apart. All right. So I had to have 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, four teeth pulled. Four. So
Wow.
that's why you see a gap there because I'm getting implants done
I
and it
got you.
takes a long time because I had to have
Yeah.
bone graft done.
Wow.
Um, yeah, dude,
Decades later.
Yeah,
Decades
decades
later.
later. But once I get this done, I'm good for the rest of my life, pretty
Yeah.
much.
You got sharp looking teeth, man. You got the smile.
Yeah. Uh, just that, yeah, thanks. I think that's why people call me the nice guy.
Because you're always
I'm not that,
smiling.
yeah, I'm always smiling. Yeah.
What
But lately I've been covering it up because he got these, you know,
what are you gonna do, right?
what are
It's
you
hard.
gonna do? Dude, I'm 60. How old
That's
are you?
unbelievable.
I
Unbelievable.
know.
I'm 50.
Yeah. I mean,
You
half
look
my life.
nothing. You look nothing close to 60.
Oh yeah, thanks. People say that. If I color my hair, I'm looking like I'm in my 40s.
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna say because you used to have if you did color it, you would. How did you go from? So when you told your dad you wanted to be a comedian, you just said, "I'm moving. I got to move to LA."
Yeah. So as a doorman, I eventually moved up to MC.
Okay.
And oh, who was it? Who was that guy who was bald comedian and he had the show, The Eight of Us?
Mm,
Oh, anyways, he was. Yeah, I was emceeing one night and he had an intro, literally a page long. I'm like, how the hell am
right.
I supposed to, And Kirkenbauer, that was his name.
Birkenbauer.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's his first name? Anyways, he had these Kirkin fans. He was one of these guys that once he got up on stage, he sweat like a pig. In his contract, he had to have a fan blowing on him at all times because he
Right.
sweats profusely. And we're in Hawaii. It's always, anyways, in order for me to remember his intro, he had these things called Kirkin fans, where it's on a big popsicle stick and there's a picture of him, and
Right.
fan yourself. On the back of one of those, I wrote his intro so I could bring it up on stage.
Ah.
Dude, that guy laid into me like I was just what are you stupid, dumb, you don't ever do that again, this kind of stuff. Anyway, this is
Really?
besides. So I'm loving comedy. It's
Yeah.
my you know how it is. Once you
Of
get
course.
into it's something magical, something just takes over
Absolutely.
your whole life.
Yeah.
For the first time in my life, I knew what I wanted to do. Because
Right.
when I was going to college, I'm in my third year of college, and I've changed majors every semester because I didn't know what to do.
Right.
I just was the first in my family to go to college. So it's like, that's the why I went,
Right.
just to make my parents proud.
Right. Right.
But yeah, what am I going to do? So, anyways, I told my dad. So I met Rich Scheidner. I met Paul Rodriguez. I met oh gosh, so many
Sam
guys at
Kinison.
that. Huh?
Kinnison,
No,
I
I
bet.
didn't meet Sam until I went to Hollywood.
Oh, right. 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 Okay.
Yeah, this is in Hawaii.
Right.
So Rich Scheidner, at the time, he was doing sitcoms and stuff like that. He was
Yep.
he was pretty big. And I told him, I said, man, I want to be a comedian so bad, this and that. What do I do? How do I do it? He
Yeah.
goes, you got to go to, Hollywood.
Yeah.
Got to go to LA, or New York. But LA was where it was at the time.
Hmm.
And I was working at the Comedy Store in the hotel lobby. Um, and so I wrote Mitzi a letter
Interesting.
and told her who I was, that I was a student here and I want to be a comedian. If I move to LA, will you give me a job? And she wrote me back and said, sure, come on out.
Wow. Because I assume they had ownership or part ownership of the one in Hawaii as well, right?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, totally. Totally owned it. It was
So you
all
go
her
out
comedy.
there
She
and
she
at
was
that
the one booking it, huh?
and you go out there and to LA and I imagine at that time, it's the Kinnisons, it's
Yeah.
uh it's
Dice
uh
Clay,
Dennis, what's his
Dennis
name?
Miller, yeah,
Yeah, like that crew was just it's got to be
Louis
intimidating,
Anderson. And all of these guys were just headliners. They weren't stars yet.
right?
They were headliners traveling the country. And when they're home, they're at the Comedy Store.
Right. And you get to
Which
hobnob with them. It's like a mini college itself
exactly.
for
Yeah.
comedians. How long did it take you to start getting stage time? Because as a door, they'll give it to not they'll it's a hard process, but if you work there, obviously you have a little bit of
Yeah.
a relationship, right?
Monday nights.
Mm,
It was potluck or something like that,
right,
what they called it. And it, I don't know, went on for all night long from 7 p.m. to like 2 a.m.
right.
And it was just comedian after comedian after comedian.
Yeah, yeah.
And they would give guys like me 5 minutes, whatever, you know, five.
That's yeah,
Well, at that time, that was a lot of time
for
for,
sure. I think people that don't do comedy don't realize. Like, I remember telling this kid who was look, he'd never done stand up before, and I was like, write 60 to 120 seconds of material. And he goes, "That's it, man. I want to do like, I want to." I go,
yeah,
never. I go, you don't know how long it is until you get up there. Go
right.
kill for 2 minutes,
Yeah.
and you'll see how tough it is. And then you progress from there. Go from 2 to 3 to 4 to 7 to 10 to 15 minutes. And he was just blown away. He's like, "No, no, no. I'm going to ask him for 30." I'm like, "All right, good luck with you." But I'm surprised you don't miss it. I mean, I guess it's like you have a storied career. 30 years of comedy, a lot of accomplishments, a lot of comedians you've influenced. And then I think it's sort of a little bit romantic that you capped it off with filming a comedy special. I think that's special.
Yeah, yeah, kind of. I should write a book. I don't know.
You should. Have you read or seen Al, Al Romas?
I've heard the name.
He's I think in the Tampa area. He has a great book on Amazon that sort of tells the story of his 30-year comedy career. He still does it. He's a cruise ship guy mostly, but
That
he
was
talks
my
about
option.
yeah.
Get
He
out or go on and I didn't. I did the cruise ships and I didn't want to do them again.
I didn't know that. Yeah, I didn't know you did the cruise
I
ships.
didn't. I was, dude. I was sick of hotels, sick of traveling, sick
Yeah,
of the airport, and I was, as much as I love being on stage. All
yeah,
that trumped it.
yeah,
I just wanted out.
yeah. And you got to tour quite frequently with James Gregory too.
Well, nothing against James. I love James more than anybody. Uh, what he did for me kept me in the
Right,
comedy business
right.
for many years, to where I could actually make a good living. Being
Yeah,
his opening act.
yeah,
And I jumped on those coattails 20 years ago, thinking this guy's going to be huge, and
right.
I'm going to be right there with him. And yeah, it never happened. He
Yeah,
auditioned for the Tonight Show like 5 times, David Letterman, all that.
yeah,
Nothing.
yeah.
You're too Southern. You're too,
Right.
whatever.
He's what that's interesting. It's almost like we know a couple guys like that have this a great following, but they're not. They just don't do the late nights. They didn't never get to the next level or whatever. But they make a
Lever,
great
yeah.
living because they sell theaters out. You know.
Yeah. Isn't that
Um,
crazy?
yeah.
Yeah.
It,
I didn't, and I also opened a lot for Henry Cho,
yeah.
a little bit, a couple shows with Brian Regan,
He's my favorite.
stuff like, huh? Yeah,
Regan and
he's every comics comic, man.
of
He's the
course.
guy, yeah.
Yeah. I like watching him. Sometimes I watch him and I try to think of the punchline, and then his is 100 times better than anything I would have thought of before.
I know, right?
But so my favorite part of your special obviously is the Casey Kasem. It's such a well written, well performed, well timed bit because
I
it
was
keeps.
really, really proud of that bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was, I couldn't follow it. It was my closer
Yeah.
because people went nuts over it. It was like just
Because
one
just
of
when you
those
think
things.
it's over, you go on again. You keep going
Yeah.
with the that's some research too. That shows a little bit of research on, you have to know a lot about Abe Lincoln and the 16th
Yeah.
president to do.
Right. Right. Right.
That
Right.
was probably the hardest part was like picking different facts out.
Uh,
But yeah, I always envied that when you with James Gregory and you, and because it was you, Mangini, Coppola,
Yeah,
and maybe
I was first. I met James Gregory. The way I met James, holy cow. I was a doorman at the Comedy Store. I've never been on the road in my life.
right,
I'm an open micer, okay? A buddy of mine, Rick Corso, is a comedian in LA, and he works at the kind of him and I lived in the same building. There was a apartment building that used to be an old hotel way back,
right,
okay? And this woman who owned it, her father owned it, blah blah blah. And it's so they turned the hotel into an apartment complex. So it was a studio apartment.
okay,
You walk in, you got the one main living room, you got a
right,
little tiny kitchen, you got the bathroom and the closet, and the bed came out of the wall.
right,
Okay. Charlie Varicola was living there.
yeah,
Rick Corso was living there. Jazz Kaner was living there, and Vince Champ,
huh.
who's I think still in prison. Dude, he went on college tours and raped girls.
Is that the comic they made a movie, they made like I don't know, Lifetime movie or something about that.
Wow, if they did, I got to look for that.
Yeah,
So, where was I? Oh, so I'm a doorman, and Star Search was the big show. Ed
yeah,
McMahon.
hmm,
Okay, my buddy Rick Corso got on.
hmm,
All right, so he couldn't go to do a gig in Amarillo, Texas, and it was James Gregory headlining. And back then, James hit on all these he would send him flowers and stuff. And
right,
Rick Corso was one of those guys, a good-looking guy. He's Italian, whatever.
right, right,
So he can't do this gig with James Gregory because he's on Star Search.
right.
It was so he convinced James Gregory to hire me as his opening act.
Wow.
All right. And the funniest thing was I get there, I'm so excited. Back then James was big, like 300 pounds.
Hmm.
And he's not a very tall person. He was and I was so excited. This is my first road gig ever. I'm at the
Right.
hotel. I called the front desk. Has James Gregory arrived? They go, yeah. I go, can you ring his room for me? I was like, hey, James, I'm your opening act. I'm just want to say how excited I was. You know how we were when we
Yeah.
started. And he says, yeah, come on down, and say hi, whatever. So I knock on his door. He opens it up. He's in his underwear, nothing else. Come on in. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Wow.
he goes, yeah, we're gonna have a lot of fun, this and that, whatever. So uh, my first night on stage, two things. Because I'm a rookie, this is my first time professional, blah blah
Yeah.
blah. I did 25 minutes, pretty solid, had a good set. I was happy with it. I felt good. Okay, this week's going to be great.
Right.
Back then, clubs were Tuesdays through Sunday. It was going to be great.
Yeah.
So after the show, the club owner says, "You only did 25 minutes. I'm paying you to do 30." So that night after the show, went back to the hotel, wrote 5 more minutes of comedy,
Yeah.
added it to my show, and went on with the week.
Yeah.
That's how crazy your,
Yeah.
material
Especially,
is.
I think, especially with casinos too, they going under or over is no good whatsoever because they're losing money if they're in the seat watching you.
Yeah.
You know, if you're doing a casino gig and you're scheduled to do an hour, you do an hour five. Like we just lost them gambling for 5 minutes out there.
Yep. Yep.
Do that
Yeah, dude,
again
they
and
were
you're fired.
strict. I've done several gigs with Henry Cho out there, and yeah, but man, what a spread in the back room.
Yeah, I would love to
They
work with
feed you
Henry
good,
Cho. I like his comedy
huh?
show.
Yeah, yeah.
So when you decide, all right, look, this is comedy's done for me. I'm moving because you're in the Atlanta area at the time, and then you're moving to where you grew up in Lubbock. Now you're doing radio. Is that
Now,
right?
yeah, dude, there's a little thing called fate that steps in every once in a while.
How did
Because
the radio come about?
when that's what I'm talking about, man, out of the blue. I came home and just thought, oh my God, I'm not a comedian anymore. What am I
Right.
going to do for a living now?
Yeah.
And
What do I want to be when I grow up at 60?
yeah, right. So um, my parents said, "Go back to your art," because I'm an artist. Mom, I can't make a living,
Right.
doing art.
Be on the street corner
Uh,
selling your pictures.
but I'm being a comedian with self-employed for 30 years. I don't think I, could work for
Yeah.
somebody
No way.
but I had to get a job. So I got a job as a cashier at the Kroger
Right.
grocery store. That way I got to mess with people. I got to talk. I got to joke around.
Yeah.
And if I'm going to
It's
be there,
easy.
might as well enjoy it. It's easy,
Talk about a captive audience.
huh? Yeah, right. And I kept getting in trouble because I would go on the PA because every time there's a computer problem, you got to call the front desk to come out. So I would be like, I'd pick it up and I'd go, guest services, come on down. You're the next contestant on register 5. And everybody would laugh and this and that. And the manager took me in the back. That's unprofessional. You better stop doing that. So they stuck me in the back of the grocery store where they have a open, cafeteria
Yeah.
kind of thing, and there's no phone over there. So they said so I'll stop because I sing songs on there. I'm having fun.
Yeah.
All right, I don't if I get fired, I don't care. I
Right.
get another job somewhere.
Right.
So and then I did the Uber, of course,
Right.
because you get to control your time and you're working for
Another
yourself.
cat. I think there's a theme here. It's another captured audience. Like this guy ain't going nowhere. I'm driving him to the airport.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a theme to your jobs.
Dude, and I don't know if I'm gonna get on, I don't know if and when I'm gonna get on stage again. It always blew my mind when a friend of mine got out of the business and I couldn't, like Dickie Palmer, did you ever know him?
Yeah, yeah. He's lives in the same town as I do.
Yeah. When he got out, I couldn't believe it. This guy's hilarious. He's
Yeah.
got potential. Nah, I'm just,
He's a teacher now. He went to back to teaching.
yeah,
And because I used to, same as you, I used to watch him kill at headlining at the Zone like a monster up there on stage. Just great.
yeah. And he told me he was working with his wife, because
Maybe.
she was selling stuff online, and so he was helping her with that. And apparently, they were good at it, and they made a lot of money.
So how did you
Uh,
get the radio? So you go from the Kroger to
so,
Uber to
so I'm here. So now I'm still working Kroger, and my brother-in-law. This is the funniest thing about my life. I am friends with millionaires.
right.
James Gregory, Henry Cho. I moved here. I got one sister who married a guy in the
Hmm.
oil business,
Yeah.
millionaire.
Right.
Okay. And my other sister married a restaurant owner. The matter of fact, the oldest running restaurant in Lubbock, Texas, he owns one. He owns
Wow.
one of those. All right. So he's in Dallas for some shindig, and Lubbock, so they call it the biggest little town in Texas, about 300,000 people. All right.
Okay.
And Texas Tech is, 50,000 of that,
Right.
60 something. So I was, yeah, working at Kroger. Market Street. That's what they call it here. So he's in Dallas, and one of the people that was at the same event was the owner of 8 radio stations in Lubbock.
Okay.
And they're talking, and he's talking because he's expanding. He got a new building. He sold his share in a TV station. Okay. And he's putting all his money into the to radio. All right. And him and my brother-in-law are talking. He goes, man, I need DJs. And my brother-in-law said, hey, my
Yeah.
brother-in-law Steve, professional comedian, this and that, and he goes, "Has he?" And the guy goes, "Has he ever done radio?" And my brother-in-law said, "No, but he can,"
Of course.
like that.
Right.
And sure enough, man. So he comes to me, he tells my brother-in-law tells. So I call the guy. He says, "Come on in." I go in. We talk for, man, I don't know, an hour, and he said, "You're hired." So yeah,
Great. Are you on the air alone?
I'm the morning. No, matter of fact, they hired me. He's on air talent. That's
Right. Of
what I do. All right. So he wants it's classic hits, which I love.
course.
80s, 90s, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
70s, late 70s, So I'm like, this is perfect. Okay. He wants a morning show. And the guy that was doing it at that time, he's been on the air for, I don't know, 20, 25 years. All right. His name's Vince. I love him,
Hmm.
but he's a straightforward, reads the script
Right.
in and out. And I'm wanting to and I'm just
Yeah.
joke, 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 joke. Okay. So so it was like the first 5 or 6 months. We're doing this show, and we're dead last in ratings. Okay,
Right.
out of, I don't know, 20 radio stations. Okay, we're dead last. And the reason he hired me is because he wanted to bring that station up. So I'm like, okay, that's my job, just to get
Yeah.
listeners. And they used to have a comedy club years and years ago. Matter of fact, I think it was the first headline job I ever had was here in Lubbock at the club called Froggy Bottoms. That was back late 80s, early 90s.
Right.
So, man, I forgot where I was going. I just sidetracked myself.
But no, you got hired to make the show go from rock bottom to
Yeah.
up.
But the guy I was working with was, man,
Super
I'm not
straightforward.
getting, So there's another DJ in the building. He works on the country station. He's been in the business 20 years. He's got a recognizable voice that everybody, when he's out in public and he talks, people go, "Hey,
Uh,
are you the guy on the radio?"
right.
Okay, this is perfect. And he's in his 40s. And the day we met, we clicked like that.
Right.
Just whatever, for whatever reason, we just hit it off. I mean, I made this guy laugh almost every break, and he's a loud laugher, and
That's the
that's how the
best.
show went. And
Yeah.
we've come up with our own bits and stuff like that. Because every radio station in town and pretty much nationwide, I've been to these conferences, and radio people are giving us a news script every day.
Yeah.
And it's the company that provides it. And I'm like, everybody's talking about the same stuff all the time.
Hmm.
So I screwed. So I got rid of that and went searching for my own stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, here's a funny story. Here's a good story. So I came up with Steve's Stupid Criminals. So I searched for the dumbest
Yeah.
idiots out there.
Right. Right.
And that's one of my bits on the air. And then the other one is the news of the weird. that got started because I'm a huge UFO nut.
Right.
I'm into that.
You got to be
It's
excited
big.
nowadays with the
Oh, dude,
UFOs
it's
discoveries.
I have been. I'm on the air all the time telling people they're coming.
Yeah.
They're already here. They're already here. All
Yeah, I
right.
thought about you when each time it gets more and more prevalent in the media and more gets shared with the public. I'm like, I always think of you because you always used to post, still do post about it, you know?
Yeah. I've because of what I've seen, and because my dad was in the Air Force for 30 years, and
Hmm.
he's seen some stuff that can't be explained. How did we come up with this? How did we come up with that kind of a
Right.
thing? And yeah, so I've been into it since I think I was a kid, really.
Yeah. But it's a successful show now. You guys clicked. You have
So
your
now, yeah, dude, we were
bits.
dead last. Then we went from 13 to 8, and then we went from 8 to 4. And I've only been with this guy a year and 4 months,
Right.
and we've jumped. That's a big. We're going in the right direction. We're going to get to number one eventually.
Right.
So that's kind of our. So
That's
now I
great.
have, huh?
That's great because you get to, I think I fantasized about doing more, doing radio back in the day, but because it's sort of like, hey, this is a steady income when you get to be creative still. Um,
Dude, it's a hard business though
of
to
course.
be successful and make a lot of money
Yeah.
because of the competition
And
nowadays with
podcasts too, and
streaming and yeah, yeah.
all that. That's great,
So,
man. I
but I
hope this,
love it because I get to be creative, I get to joke around, I
yeah,
get to whatever.
those creative
Yeah,
juices get to be utilized. You know what I mean?
yeah,
It's
yeah.
almost like you're doing stand up to, thousands of people on the air with your bits.
Uh, Man, there's just how long you been in it?
I started at the Zone in Jacksonville in 98, and I probably started house emceeing in 01, 2001. Um,
Okay.
so yeah,
Yeah. You
decades.
made you made a career. I just saw you had a show that sold out
Last
recently.
night.
Yeah,
Yeah.
last night. Oh, it was last night. Oh, cow.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that yesterday. I was like, oh, good for him.
Thanks, man. I've been trying to do independent venues where the pressure's on me to
Yeah.
sell the tickets and then I can do a door deal. Um, so I don't have to rely on the pay hasn't changed for us. You have to make the pay change,
Yeah.
for this is the same pay at the Zone for 20 years. So, or any club, really, you have to prove to them that you can draw tickets in. So,
Right.
super stressful. you
Yeah.
know, I think we actually it technically wasn't a sellout. We was one ticket shy of a sellout, but
That's a sellout.
yeah, I know. But it was like a tabletop of four, and it was a party of three. So I was like, you couldn't find one friend, a vagrant, somebody.
Right.
Look, man, I hope the special takes off. I'm going to help promote it. I do end my podcast with 5 questions. It's not a lightning round, but I want to ask those and get your take on them. And I think I have an idea of what some of the answers are. But first one is comedy influences. Can you think back on who? I know we talked about the talent show and this and that, but can you think about who you've seen that was like, wow, that kind of sparked your interest in comedy?
Wow, that goes back to my childhood.
Yeah,
My dad would buy the Bill Cosby albums,
yeah.
Richard Pryor, um, uh, gosh, who else would he? Rodney Dangerfield.
Oh my God.
So I was all ready, and man, I met Rodney one time as a doorman, and the guy's in his 70s, and he's like, "Hey, kid, where can I find a joint?" And I said, "I'll be right back." What a great guy. So
Yeah,
I've been a fan of comedy my whole life, and then when I became one, it was surreal.
yeah,
You know, um, so what was the question? It was
yeah. That was it. Comedy influences. This
oh
may
well,
be
we're working at the comedy store, dude. I
yeah,
knew Sam Kinison.
right,
I partied with Sam Kinison.
right,
I got some stories, dude. Just I'm lucky to be alive.
right.
I'm glad I didn't go over the edge.
Yeah,
But when Hollywood was exploding with all the, drugs were huge.
yeah,
Everybody was doing them. It was crazy.
yeah. Yeah. Can you think back to second question is, can you think back to your childhood? Was there a moment that stuck out in your life that sparked your interest in laughter and comedy? Like I always point back to the first joke I ever heard was from my grandfather. It was one of those street jokes. And I remember him laughing so hard, I'm laughing so hard, and I'm like 10, kind of got the joke, but it was more about the laughter and what that felt like. Anything from your childhood that you could think of that sparked the interest?
Oh, absolutely, dude. That was I used to always have joke books on me, the little
Ah,
paperbacks.
hmm.
And they would one, it would be, and it was so funny because it'd be at the Italian joke book,
Right.
and then you flip it over, and it's the Polish joke book.
Right, right.
So halfway through the book, you got to turn it over.
Yeah, I
It's just,
remember those. Yeah, I remember those.
and I would just, man, all the time, just
Yeah.
joke, joke, joke. My dad and my parents are only 20 years older than me.
Right.
So and my dad's in the Air Force, and he always liked throwing parties at our house. Like at 14 years old, I was behind the bar pouring rum and cokes and stuff.
Yeah.
But I was always with the jokes. And my dad had a friend named Cecil, black guy, just super nice, And when you're a little kid and you want to impress an adult, he was one of those guys that when I told him a joke, oh man, he laughed
Yeah.
so loud
Yeah.
and just, man, and that, how that made me feel was just
Yeah.
insane. So we had the contest, not a contest, but our teacher at school for a project said, pick your best friend and draw what he's going to be when he's an adult. And my friend, I drew as an astronaut.
Right.
He was into, his dad was a pilot and he bragged about it all the time and stuff. So I drew him as an astronaut. And then he drew me as a stand up comedian on a
Wow.
stage, curtains. And I looked at it and went, what the hell is that?
Right. Right.
I didn't know what a comedian was. I'm a
Right.
kid. And he goes, that's a comedian. And I'm like, and dude, not so 20 years later, when I became a comic, I remember that. I wish I still had that picture.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, considering you're out of the stand-up industry, sort of, the next question maybe ask you to reflect. What do you wish was different about the industry as a whole?
Um, I really didn't care
Yeah.
about the industry because we just do what we do,
Yeah.
and the industry is going to do what it does. It's going to go the way it goes. I mean,
Right.
it's it's a it's a mystery to me, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I don't know how. I don't know. Right place, right time, right people. Boom, star.
Yeah.
Or on the road for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
All my buddies, all the guys that I've known over the years are on cruise ships right now.
Yep.
All of them.
Yep.
And yeah, I just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where was your fourth question? What favorite place to perform over the years? Was there one that you loved to go back to?
Wow. That's
I think of like the Punchline in Atlanta.
I
Um,
moved to Atlanta to make the Punchline my home club.
yeah.
That's why I moved there. And I lived there for 22 years. Yeah.
And what else? Birmingham. I like that place. The
I
Stardome.
lo- Stardome, and I worked at the original club that burned down too. So that's how long I worked for
That's a famous story
Roots.
because I think it burned. Didn't it burn down with Carrot Top's trunks in
Sure.
it?
Yeah,
And he lost all his
he
props, and he had to
lost
like,
all his. Yeah,
and like he got a bunch of comedians together in a garage that helped him make new props and stuff.
yeah. Charlie Baracola was his
Because I
main
think he had
prop
to do
guy.
Leno or something, or some Tonight Show appearance he had coming up or something like that.
Right, right. Yeah.
Everything burned down. So here's the last question for you. I won't keep you longer. And this is you'll have to go back and think if you didn't do the talent show as a kid for stand. If you weren't a comedian for the past 30 years, what do you think you would have ended up having a career in?
Oh, I wanted to be a pilot
Yeah.
so bad. I wanted to join the military. I was an ROTC in college.
Okay.
and I just couldn't handle I couldn't handle the orders, the discipline, there was a part of me that said, "Oh, I'm never going to be able to do this,"
Yeah. Yeah. So,
So, and I regret that because I still to this day wish I could fly a plane. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Maybe that's why you did the Uber for a little while. You're like, it's in my own little cockpit with a passenger.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, what's the station that folks can listen in on?
93.7 The Eagle.
93.7 The Eagle. Steve and who's the other guy?
Dave and Steve, the Big Breakfast Show,
Ah,
the
yes, I love
fastest growing morning show in West Texas.
it. That's perfect, man. And watch his special "Nice Guy" on Dry Bar's app. I think at least
You
with
know what?
mine.
I
Go
don't
ahead.
think that was a stellar performance. I think the audience is very generous there. Personally, you know how
Right.
we are. I looked
Of
at
course.
it and went, "Oh man, that's a B show. That's not even my A."
Right.
But they're very strict on what you can and cannot say.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you have to, adjust your act a little bit. And
Yeah. It was
yeah,
great. I enjoyed it. I loved it. Brought back great memories for me,
yeah.
and fun watching you tell jokes again. And glad you did the show, man. But if you don't mind hanging on here for a second, we can end this, and then I got a few other things to touch base with you about.
All right,
But
cool.
thanks for joining me, man.
Ah,
Appreciate it.
this was great. Thanks for having me. Because yeah, it's Sunday. I'm at home. I got the wife. And I'm in my fortress of solitude.
Right.
We never grow up, do we? I got a
No.
Superman cape. I got a robot from Lost in Space. I got Darth Vader up there. I got a Star Wars watch. I'm a kid. I build models, you know.
That's
But
great.
I've been living in this house for 2 years. I haven't hung one thing on the walls yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
All right, man. Hold on one second.